A lot of you wonder why this towel is on the back of my chair. There's no real reason anymore. I used to have the same chair, but this thing kind of died, and then I realized it's probably because I have my head against it the whole day, so I put this towel to prevent it from happening again. So that's why it's always there. I hope that answered your lifelong question that you've probably had for about 5 seconds since I mentioned it. Now, Vanguard's not doing bad by any means. You know, it's the sales are going up. It's been doing fine in Japan and in the West for as much of the sales figures as we've seen. So it's not really doing bad or anything. But it can still maybe do a little bit better, you know? It can still go a little bit further to become a little bit more mainstream and maybe even, you know, get up to the same level as its competitors on a really, like, the same level as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and stuff. You know, you might argue that, like, original turnouts aren't all that high as they used to be, but a lot of new players aren't really, you know, they might not be prepared to go for their first big tournament yet. You know, we might see that next year instead, and there's been a lot of new players in this, you know, with the reboot and everything, so it obviously makes sense. But, you know, I'm sure next year it probably should go up. I mean, I didn't go to my first locals until I played the game for like half a year or something, so, you know, there's all kinds of people. So it's not really that I'm talking about that. It's really, what can we do, what could happen to help the game even more? There's been the Caravan, that's already done. Bushro did that, it was to pretty high success overall. Mobile game, coming right up, should boost the sales as well, because people are gonna get into the game. Actually, in my locals, a lot of the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Players just go like, oh yeah, I got back into the game through Duel Links, nice to meet you. And that's probably gonna happen with Vanguard Zero, whether people like it or not. But you know what hasn't happened just yet? That has happened to other card games? Celebrities. Now, I'm not talking about like actors and musicians. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I'm not talking about the whole like Drake and Ninja thing, but I'm talking more about, let's say, YouTubers, you know, like not like segregated, topical, like, you know, Vanguard YouTubers or like, you know, these kind of like closed off community YouTubers, but the more general YouTuber that a lot of people watch in a country, for example. This might not make sense just yet, but I'm gonna give 2 examples of where this has worked with other contexts and using other card games and hobbies as well, and then explain why I think this might work for Vanguard as well. This is completely an irrelevant video, but I felt like it would be really fun to do, so I kind of want to do it regardless, and I kind of want to go over these other examples that I've been talking about, so I just really want to do this. We're gonna go over the #1 YouTuber in Japan, Hajime Shacho, who happens to be my #1 favorite YouTuber as well on the whole platform. I've been kind of questioning it lately since he's done some kind of, you know, questionable stuff, but he's still a pretty big inspiration, so I'm kind of in that, like, who do I look up to if not him phase, you know? But anyway, I'm gonna go over why I'm even talking about this person. So, he's the #1 YouTuber in Japan in terms of subscribers, and a lot of people follow him, a lot of people idolize him, and all this stuff, you know, it's the typical thing you can expect from, you know, Japan and idols, but he's, you know, his videos are mostly kind of experimental, like a new experiment that he came up, you know, usually something really stupid, or let's say he bought something online and he wants to show it off. And this isn't just restricted to, you know, experiment type stuff, but, you know, I don't know, like last year, for example, he got into Beyblades, and he just bought a bunch of Beyblades and played with them, and just made a video about that. And the result of that was that a lot of people got into Beyblades, myself included. But now, what's important to note is that in terms of card games, he's not always been into Yu-Gi-Oh! He's been into Yu-Gi-Oh! For the last several years, spanning from the end of the Zale era. So he's been through Arc 5 and now going into Vrain, so that's at least 5 years, or 6 years or so. So, you know, he's been into it for quite a while, and so he's been kind of familiar with the card game scene in general in Japan. But in July of this year, he uploaded a video on the Pokemon TCG, which was talking about these 500 yen starter decks that they got. 500 yen is about $5 US or about 4-ish euros. And he was basically saying how amazing these are, and he has a channel where it's called like his rice, well, his like grass fields, where it's just a bunch of different channel members making videos every day, essentially, just about like kind of like daily life and memes and all this stuff. It's pretty fun, but he basically showed off the starter decks and how his whole team is having fun. You know, you could see over like several videos, the channel members kept playing the game, so obviously it wasn't just like a stage thing, it wasn't just like one big paid promotion, it was like a genuine thing, because that other channel doesn't have paid promotions. And so he advertises these 500 yen starter decks, and then they sell out all over Japan. For the record, we never got these in English. You know, I keep track of the Pokemon TCG pretty closely, I like to follow the meta and the releases and all that stuff, so I like to, you know, keep up to date with what's happening. But so these starter decks sold out all over Japan because of that, because people saw that, oh, well, it's cool, it's an easy way to get into the game. He advertised it as a good way to get into the game, and so people did. It sold out. Couldn't be found in any Pokemon Center, any online service, anything. So in Japan, it was just gone. And you know, other Pokemon YouTubers made videos about this, like Ross, I forget his actual channel name, but you probably know if you follow Pokemon TCG. But then, following that, after the Starter Deck sold out, there was a new pack that came out soon after that, which featured Lugia on the cover art, and essentially, when that released, people queued up at the Pokemon Center like crazy in every possible Pokemon Center in Japan to queue up and get those packs, because they wanted boxes, they wanted packs, they wanted to get the new stuff because they just bought into the 500 yen starter decks and they want to upgrade those decks with this stuff that's coming out in the next pack. So obviously they go to the shops, they go to the not supermarkets, the convenience stores, they go to the Pokemon centers and all these places to get the packs, and the queues were insane, like Comic-Cat levels of insane, right? So that's like the first wave. You know, it's already selling out, it's doing well. The sales shot up 500 or 600%, I think, from during that time period. Like, there's an actual graph that one of the owner of Card Kingdom, like the really famous card shop chain in Japan, he basically publishes like the card game sales data every few months, and so Pokemon shot up like crazy because of that. But it doesn't end there, because this week as I'm making this, a new set came out in the Pokemon TCG in Japan, which essentially has a bunch of reprints for the best cards of the format, right? So obviously people want to get that because it's an easy way to get your hands on staples that are really good in every deck, or other cards that are really good for making your other decks really good. And I think these pictures and the footage that I'm going to show basically speaks for itself. So the queues are insane. There's like footage from Osaka Station, which is a massive station with several floors that is just like crazy. Like, this is selling out. People are going frantic, people are calling it a social phenomenon, like, people are saying that it's popular to the point that it's getting bad. I'm talking so, like, passionately about this that I'm making a mess out of myself, but essentially it's gotten pretty crazy. So, this is the impact that one YouTuber with 7 million subs, that just happens to be the #1 of Japan, has on the country. Like, obviously this doesn't work in every country, not everybody follows people as easily and gets influenced as easily, but even I kind of felt it, you know, like I was already into Pokemon TCG, but then I paid attention to it a little bit more after all this, because I kind of wanted to be part of the whole context, because I watch a lot of Japanese YouTubers, and then like virtual YouTubers started getting into it. Like, everybody was making videos about Pokemon TCG, and it just kept on growing and growing and growing, and then, you know, it's good because it spreads the overall card game market as well. So let's say if people try out Pokemon TCG because of this, and they see that they don't like it, they might look at other TCGs, like Vanguard, and then it works out. So that's just one thing, but that's with the Pokemon context. But this has actually already happened with Vanguard as well, but in a context that you probably don't know about. Italy. So Italian Vanguard and YouTubers have a pretty tight relationship, in the sense that the official Vanguard Italy YouTube page has a whole playlist of popular YouTubers that have made videos about Vanguard. These aren't popular Vanguard YouTubers, but they're popular YouTubers, so like a general YouTuber, like YouTube channel, that made videos about Vanguard. So one of them that I want to take a look at is Tuberanza, with an emoji in the title, so you know it's already going to be good. And he made a video in March of 2017 called Real Pack Opening Card Fight Vanguard, and then, you know, in Italian. So obviously this is for Italian Vanguard, which came out not too long ago, like a couple of years ago or so. So, but it's been growing in popularity because it's available to the general, you know, the general public, and it's in Italian, which makes the kids get into it pretty easily without needing to know English. Now, I'm not a reaction channel, but I just want to look at this together for a little bit. For the record, I don't speak Italian, but I can probably follow a little bit.
Bentornati fratelli di Tuberanza in un real pack opening Vanguard. Voi amici miei non avete la...
So he's got that whole camera, you know, facing the cards and facing him going on. Obviously the better camera at his face, which, you know, I don't really question that or whatever, but I just want to go through this for a little bit, because it's got everything you need. And also the title, I mean, I can't really know, I can kind of figure out what it says in Italian, right? It's like, Real Pack Opening Card Fight Vanguard, my new passion? It's what it seems like. It's obviously, if his viewers see that and see like, oh, his new passion, it says the new thing he's into, especially the younger kids, I think, will think, oh, well, I need to check this out. You know, if he's so serious about it, that's somebody I look up to. It's the same with me and, like, for example, Hajime and a lot of other Japanese people that probably watch his videos. So, but I just want to take a look at this.
Quanto questo gioco mi sia entrato in testa. Ho iniziato a seguire l'anime su K2 e una volta 50 ho trovato conoscere questo gioco ai miei fratelli.
Okay, so I'm not really following too much. I'm assuming he's just talking about like the very basic, you know, background and like, you know, the trial decks and the packs and whatever, you know, all that good stuff. And then I think he goes over and kind of talks about like the rules of the game, which is a really good thing to do in your first video, because that way the people that are checking it out just for the sake of checking it out are also seeing, you know, what it's actually about and get a little introduction to it. So he shows off like the triggers and all that stuff. And then I think after that, it's talking about like the rarities and stuff, so that if you're watching the pack opening, you can actually understand, you know, what if he's reacting to something that it's a big deal. So I think he's talking about rares. Ah yes, that's good old Blaster Blade. Distrutture delle lame. That's it's gotta be good. Tripla R. Oh my god, it sounds so good. So I guess he just talks about the game, and then I think he just kind of goes over it. Like he opens his packs and the trial decks and all that stuff. You know, it's all you really need. You know, it's all you really need. And he's also not the only one to do this. You know, I think he's a pretty big YouTuber because he has over 100k subs, which I think, you know, in the context of just one country in Europe, that's quite a lot, I think. And so, you know, he's got a big following. Most of his videos about this kind of like nerd geek culture, so it's a lot of, you know, like gaming and card games, but he also does like Dragon Ball, TCG, and like all that stuff. So I think it's basically any card game that's available in Italian, he'll probably make videos about it. So, you know, that's cool already. But then there's another guy called Mangaka who also does similar things. So where he has like videos about anime and manga and card games, and he also made videos about Vanguard, which also got a lot of views, you know, more or less hitting around 100k. And to top it all off, the official Vanguard Italian YouTube channel filmed them fighting, so these two big YouTubers fighting in the Nationals, you know, and uploaded it. The video got 300k views, which is a lot, and you know, just doing that, which is really simple, it's just like, I'm pretty sure, you know, it might have even been like a sponsored video for the Italian YouTubers, but the fact that they phrased it as their passion, you know, as something they're really into is really good. And then the Italian Vanguard page showing off these two popular YouTubers, you know, fighting it out on their official channel is even better. And then if people know that they're coming to the big event, obviously people might even get into the game just to meet their favorite YouTubers. So this kind of thing really works, and it helps to grow a card game as well. And I'm sure at this point you're thinking, DifferentFight, why are you even talking about this? You haven't even gotten to your point, you're just talking about different examples. Honestly, my point is that it's pretty damn easy. Honestly, my point is that this thing isn't even all that hard to do or for it to happen, and the amount it would boost Vanguard by is pretty crazy. So obviously, you know, just like some random like German or Italian or, you know, even I'd say Singaporean or like specific country YouTubers, you know, like there's always country YouTubers that speak in the native tongue, you know, that won't really do it. For English, it needs to be really like a mainstream YouTuber like PewDiePie or MaxMofo or JWitz. And you know, it's good that, you know, with MaxMofo he actually said he's planning to do a Vanguard video, like a video solely for Vanguard on his Pokemon channel, you know, so that's good. That's probably going to boost up Vanguard a little bit, but it's really that's all that there is to it, you know. It's just if one of these somewhat bigger celebrities makes a video about it, that's going to be enough to actually promote it like crazy and grow the game even more. So, you know, I'm just saying, it's like looking at Pokemon in Japan, you know, its success, it was never close to dying. The Pokemon TCG wasn't close to dying, but it wasn't played that much beforehand. Like, I lived in Japan for a while, and Pokemon TCG just wasn't played that much. Like, the tournaments didn't have that big of a turnout, but now after that, like, the Japanese newspapers are even posting about how the card games are a hobby for adults, and how, like, the card games are returning as, like, their big boom now with, like, Pokemon and everything. And they cite the same reasons. It's YouTubers that brought it up. And so that's why it's growing, and it's getting this massive boom out of nowhere. So, like, it's really interesting to me how it took such a simple thing to grow a card game so much, both in the context of Pokemon in Japan and Vanguard in Italy, in my opinion. Now, I think some of my Italian viewers might criticize me a bit on this, because I'm sure there were other factors, you know, like the fact that the game is in Italian and accessible to everybody because they don't need to know any other language, but to me it's just, it's interesting to look at how a YouTuber can actually have so much impact by just talking about a game as if it's their passion, or really usually is. But I think the most important thing that does make it work is that they're genuine about it. So how the Italian ones phrase it as their passion, and how Hajime in the Japanese case, he doesn't really like put it as like a sponsored video, or like, this video has been brought to you by this and the sponsor, you know, he just like, I'm really into this, help, you know, that's basically what this video was about. And, you know, he has videos on his second channel where he just like does sponsored content, and you can tell it's sponsored, so people won't get into that as much, but it's still good publicity. But with this, it's really his power, you know, it's the fact that he is genuinely into it, that people want to be into it as well, because maybe they'll meet him at a tournament or something. So it's just that kind of thing, and I really wanted to talk about this for some reason. Like, this video's been on my mind for like a month, and I just really wanted to do it because it seemed like a fun idea, and whether you enjoyed it or not, I don't know, but I certainly did enjoy making it. So I hope this maybe, you know, maybe brought light to some of the things that go on in different spheres of the world, you know, regarding card games, and the fact that you don't really need something super fancy to expand the player base of your card game either. Just as long as some big name gets into it, that's usually going to be enough, but that is still quite random and depends on what the big names want to do themselves, because a forced sponsorship isn't really going to cut it as well. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. You know, I like making these kind of videos. They're just fun little discussion type videos where I can just kind of go over like things that are in the back of my mind concerning this game, and I hope you enjoy them as well. But on that note, I hope you guys do manage to check out the second channel and click the bell button, and then check out the social medias in the description, as well as join the Discord channel if you haven't already. But on that note, that's going to be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.